What did I miss? Brian here, and well, the weather is kind of weird right now. It's cloudy on this side, but it's sunny on the other. Hood is up because today we got a maintenance as well as a repair video. As part of this 200,000 mile maintenance, I'm going to be changing out the water pump. $200,000 miles and the 4Runner is still on the original water pump. We need to change that. At the time when I was changing out the crank pulley as well as the crank seal, I noticed it was pink and crusty underneath the water pump. Now, it's not too much, it's just a little bit of pink crusties, but still, it's a sign that it's going bad and it needs to be replaced. I'm gonna pick this up and we're gonna go off to the side. The water pump kit came with the water pump itself, a triple layer gasket. As you can see, you got rubber, metal, and then rubber in the back. And then 2 O-rings. And this pump is OEM, as you can see the Toyota emblem right there. Now above the water pump, I've got a bunch of pulleys. I got 3 idler pulleys, 1 tensioner pulley, and the kit came with a belt. There's a lot of parts you have to remove in order to gain access to the water pump. However, you'll also get easy access to the pulleys, so might as well change them while you can. Now, replacing the water pump does require draining the coolant, so I got coolant and a bunch of it. I'm using the Toyota Super Long Life coolant. This is the pink stuff. And the reason why I have so much is because I'm going to be changing out the radiator with a CSF racing radiator. For the tools, I'm using a flathead screwdriver, a socket wrench with an extension, 3 sockets, which are 10, 12, and 14 millimeter sockets, a 10 millimeter wrench, 2 13 millimeter wrenches, pliers, a breaker bar, and a torque wrench. As for the materials or other items, I'm using a spill-proof funnel, a hose, 2 1-gallon jugs, coolant, a brush, degreaser, and lastly, Toyota 103 thread sealer. And so, without further ado, let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do, this step is not needed, it's optional. I'm going to take the battery out. It's not necessary, but it gives me extra room to work under the hood, and plus, I can get a better angle with the camera. With that battery out of the way, there is plenty of room to work under the hood. Next, I'm going to drain the radiator as well as the block. Probably would also help if I open the radiator cap. Alright, I'm probably just going to leave it at the passenger side of the block. I'm not going to do the driver's side because it's a lot more difficult. While I let the coolant drain out, I'm going to remove some of the smaller things like the plastics, the intake, the radiator hoses, the coolant reservoir tank, fan shroud, and the fan. Now, if you take a look at the plastic trim here, you'll see there is a bolt on the top and there's a nut at the bottom. And that's because all of my plastic clips broke. Normally it's held on by plastic clips, but I replaced them all with metal bolts. Nasty. With everything out of the way, now we need to remove the belt as well as the water inlet housing so that we can get to the water pump. Next thing to do now is remove the water inlet housing as well as the oil cooler lines. There we go. I'm switching to the GoPro, but next thing I need to do now is remove the two top idler pulleys as well as the tensioner pulley. The tensioner pulley is reverse thread, so it's lefty tighty, righty loosey. And while I'm at it, might as well remove the bottom idler pulley. All right, with the tensioner as well as the idler pulleys out of the way, we can now remove the water pump, and it has a mix of 10 and 12 millimeter bolts. This one is a 12 millimeter, and the best way to keep track of where the bolts go is to put it on the same spot on the new water pump. Okay, I'm removing the last bolt, and there's still some coolant within the block. Like I said, I didn't remove the coolant on the driver's side of the block. I was trying to prevent a big mess, but, well, actually it's not as big as I thought. Yeah, that's not as bad as I thought. Go ahead and get the gasket out too. So here we have both water pumps. This is the one I just pulled out, and this is the brand new one with all of the bolts in their places. If you take a look at the old one, you'll see there is coolant buildup towards the bottom of the weep hole. That's the old O-ring I replaced whenever I installed the oil cooler. Looking at everywhere else, everything else looks okay except for the bottom here. And if you look at the triple layer gasket, you'll see that some of the gasket material is coming off on these parts, but other than that, it looks all right. Compared to the new water pump, I'm trying to keep the bolts in. This is the one we're installing, and you can see that weep hole looks clean. I'm gonna take this one out. But when you look at the bolts, you'll see they have a little bit of thread sealer at the end. We're gonna have to clean them off and add new thread sealer onto them. Well, the bolts are clean. Some of them were easier to clean than others. Oh, I missed a spot right there. But some of them were easier to clean than others. Others were very, very difficult. But now it is time to install the new water pump. The 10mm bolts don't require thread sealer, but the 12mm bolts do. I'm going to do the 10mm first, and then do the 12mm last. Now before putting in the new water pump and gasket, we need to clean off the old gasket material off the engine, and I'm going to use an old sponge. You could use a plastic blade. I don't recommend a razor blade because you might risk gouging into the metal. Well, I cleaned off as much gasket material as I could. There are some black spots, but for the most part, the surface is pretty flat, so this is as good as it's gonna get. Now to install the water pump as well as the gasket simultaneously. Okay, the 10mm bolts are holding in the water pump, so that thing's not going anywhere. Now comes the time to add the 12mm bolts, and I went ahead and added the 103 thread sealer on the threads. And I saved these for last because you only have 15 minutes to install these with the thread sealer on before it cures. And you want to add a generous amount to the threads. I got one that's coated in the thread sealer, and just pass it on to the other bolts. This one might have a little too much on it, but we're gonna roll with it. All right, the water pump is installed and torqued down. Next, we're going to install the new idler pulleys as well as the tensioner pulley, but first, I'm going to clean the engine bay. It's not perfect, but it's better, so I'll take it. I'm going to go ahead and add the O-ring onto the water pump. And lastly, this O-ring goes onto that too. What the? Huh? Wait, where did the O-ring go? Wow, did I drop it? Ah, it fell down right there. Well, that makes this easy. I'm gonna take a little bit of the leftover residual coolant, coat the O-ring, and then slip it on. And of course, coat the O-ring on the water pump as well. Now comes the part where we install the new idler pulleys. This is one of the two on the top, right here and right there. And also, this is the part number. Same with the other. Got the two top idler pulleys in. Now to install the bottom idler pulley. And of course, can't forget the part number. Next, putting in the belt tensioner pulley. Now, I have the entire belt tensioner assembly, but it's sandwiched in between the engine and the AC unit, and I am not going to rip that AC unit out. I'm going to keep it as is, and when it comes time to change the AC unit, I'm going to change out the entire assembly. Keep in mind that this is reverse thread. All right, all the pulleys are installed and they're torqued down. Currently have an Allen key holding in this tensioner pulley. Now all that is left to do is to put everything back together. All right, everything is back in place, but most importantly, the water pump as well as the idler pulleys have been changed out. I still have the belt that was included with the pulley kit, but my current belt is still pretty good, so I'm reusing it. I'm gonna keep this one as a spare. Now all that is left to do is to fill the system with coolant. That's 1 gallon. Second gallon, empty. Onto the third gallon. Well, seems to have stopped. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the engine to see if the water pump sucks in more coolant. I'm currently in the driver's seat. I'm gonna start up the engine, but before that, I'm going to turn on the heater core. Let's crank it all the way up at full blast. Here we go. Taking a closer look, it is pulling more coolant. More bubbles are starting to come out, which is good. Most importantly, we want to check in the engine bay to make sure there are no coolant leaks. So far, I don't see any, and I'm gonna check under. No coolant leaks there either. I have the door opening light and the flashing seatbelt light, but I don't have any check engine lights so far. And checking on the temperature, it looks normal so far. It's not spiking up to hot. I'm gonna turn it off. There we go. Still don't have any check engine lights, which is good. Checking the temperature gauge, it's coming up normally. However, air bubbles are still coming out. So I'm gonna give it some more time. Oh yeah, more bubbles are starting to come out. I think there's no more air. Finally. All that is left to do now is to add our plunger and transfer the funnel from the radiator to the reservoir. Careful that you don't make a mess. Now the reservoir is not quite full yet, so I'm gonna add some more. And we are done. Add our new radiator cap, and then we are done. Small update here, not much going on. I would have followed up on the same night as when I replaced the water pump, but it got too dark, and the next day the weather was pretty bad. So this is a week after. After replacing the water pump, the tensioner and idler pulleys, and filling up the system with fresh coolant, everything is working pretty well. There are no weird noises, no coolant leaks, and most importantly, no overheating issues. If you look at one of the idler pulleys and part of the water pump, you'll notice that the metal finish looks way newer than the rest of the engine. But other than that, that is it. This concludes the water pump replacement for the 4th gen 4Runner with the V6. And side note, this will also work for the 2nd gen Tacomas and the FJ Cruisers from 2007 to 2009. If you're subscribed, thanks. If you're not, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Take care everyone, I'll catch you on the flip side.